Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Scotch Sunday review here on Drums and Drams. My name's Cameron, and today I wanted to highlight for all of you a single malt Scotch that, unfortunately, I overlooked at the beginning of my whiskey journey. I have since corrected that problem, and I've come to love just about everything I've had from this distillery. So, yes, spoiler at the beginning of this video, I love this stuff. I am going to recommend it to you, but we're going to talk about why. I'm going to nose it, taste it, give you some notes along the way. Of course, I am talking about this Craigellachie 13-year single malt Scotch, bottled at 46% ABV. It's a Speyside Scotch, non-chill filtered, natural color, all the great things that whiskey enthusiasts like to see. And I also just want to point out, I love the marketing and the presentation of this, the yellow label. In some ways, it's overly simplistic. It's got that landscape scene. But in other ways, it's kind of ornate with the text. And so I love the combination of things on this label. It feels very classic to me. But anyways, let's get into this now. Let's check it out on the nose and see what we get. Okay, so I think when most folks smell this Scotch up front, I think the first thing they're going to key in on is this kind of caramelized and toasty profile. I have to imagine that comes from a large percentage of ex-bourbon casks in the blend. I actually don't know the specifics of the blend, so if you have more information about the various casks, drop that in the comments below. But I think you're going to key in immediately on these caramelized notes. But if you dig beneath that, there are a lot of supporting fruit elements to this as well that kind of play in nicely with those caramelized notes. Yeah, so I'm going to call out a few of them specifically. First off, I would say there's kind of this overripe banana thing in here. I also pick up on a little bit of a fresher fruit element, which I would, in this case, call like a pineapple note, definitely something tropical. And to kind of go along with the toastier elements, I'm going to say that there's like an apple pie kind of note. So yes, you get that toasty pie crust kind of vibe, but also that kind of baked apple thing in here as well. So a lot of different kinds of fruit, but all of those in some way, at least in my mind, support that kind of caramelized thing that wraps all of those notes up. It's kind of this enveloping blanket. So it's a big, full profile. It feels hefty. It feels dense. But I think you have to dig beneath those caramelized notes, those toffee notes, however you want to call it, to kind of get to those fruit elements in the glass. Anyways, let's go back to the nose here. Yeah, and I've got maybe three more things to call out. One is going to be kind of a powdered sugar element. Some people are going to say confectioner's sugar. There's also a golden raisin note in here, and that type of note, for me, typically comes from ex-sherry casks. Again, I don't have the specifics of that. And I also pick up a little bit of an almond thing, like this toastier almond note in here. Again, that would also presumably come from some sort of ex-sherry cask. I think it's a great whiskey on the nose. In some ways, it feels simplistic. In other ways, if you dig into it, I think you can come away with a lot more than just that kind of base toffee thing. So anyways, let's get this on the palate now and see what we get. Cheers. Great freshness on the front. Great freshness. The first thing I'm hit with is a little tangerine pop, a little citrus pop, and kind of like a green apple. Yeah, green apple, maybe green apple skin. It's kind of got this tinge of bitter, sour thing playing against each other. Great freshness on the front of the palate. I love to see that, especially in a whiskey like this that, again, feels hefty, feels kind of full and rich. Now, as it rolls back, this vanilla powdered sugar thing does start to develop. You do get into some more of those golden raisin notes on the mid-palate. And now as we get into the finish, there's a great combination of those sweeter fruit notes, those kind of more overripe, heavy fruit notes, along with just a little bit of a sourness that keeps this thing, again, from the front of the palate even, all the way into the finish. It keeps this freshness to it. And, you know, I think it is a good combination of balancing the 13-year age statement, which is a little more of that entry-level age statement. You get that balance of those fresher notes versus the heavier cask influence notes. And people are going to talk about worm tubs as part of the reason this profile feels so heavy. I have never done a side-by-side or an A-B comparison between a worm tub version of Craigellachie and the non-worm tub version, so I can't speak to exactly whether or not that's why this profile feels so heavy for me. Either way, It's really great whiskey, and I think the drinking experience is quite nice. I think the nose is, it's one of those things that you have to put a little investment in to kind of reap the rewards. I think first impression might be simplistic. Dig in a little more, you might get more out of it. But let's do one more sip, and then we're going to wrap this video up. Yeah, great. I love the front pop that this whiskey has on the palate. I just think it's fantastic. It's a great kind of first impression, great balance on there, and it helps drive the entire development of the whiskey. The last note I'm going to call out on this whiskey is something that I often refer to as an industrial note. Some people might taste this and feel that there's a whiff of peat, a whiff of smoke. To me, in this whiskey, where that's coming from is a note that I, again, refer to as somewhat industrial, but a better way to put it might be kind of a gravel or pebble minerality. And if that doesn't resonate with you, I fully understand. Minerality is something that in the wine world gets talked about quite a bit. I think it's talked about too much. Whenever I drink wine, and I'm no wine expert, but whenever I drink it, and every single glass somebody talks about the minerality, it just becomes this thing that you just say the word and people agree with you. But what does it really mean in a lot of contexts? In the land of bourbon, or Tennessee whiskey, I guess we should say, maybe more specifically, we talk about George Dickel and having this minerality, which in that case, a lot of people don't like. But the minerality that I'm picking up in this Craigellachie, or industrial note, however you want to call it, it feels like gravel, like pebbles. And it's not something that stands out in a pointy way. It's just kind of something in the background that adds, again, a more interesting character to the whiskey. It just punctuates at all times the nose and the palate of this whiskey. So look out for that note. Let me know in the comments if you kind of understand what I'm talking about, or if I sound crazy by saying that. But all in all, I cannot recommend this Craigellachie 13 enough. And even the single casks that I've picked up from independent bottlers, maybe I have a Distiller's Art version of this. The other one is either Whiskey Chamber or North Star, something. It doesn't matter. I've had ruby port finishes. I've had sherry finishes for these independent bottlers. They're all great. So Craigellachie 13-year and pretty much every Craigellachie product, highly recommended. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Cheers. And I will see you guys next time here on Drums and Drams.